What is going on, guys? TBL here, coming back at you guys with another late evening video, bringing up some interesting topics going on in the gaming world today. Now, first things first, I wanted to take a minute to talk about a video we put out a day or so ago, talking about some of the insanity going on with Google and YouTube right now. And I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. The engagement with that video has actually been way beyond what I initially thought it was going to get. You guys know I like to shy away from social commentary and political commentary and whatnot, because I just figure it's not what people want to hear on a gaming channel where you just come here to be entertained for a little bit and watch me call people burgers. But we'll just say Google and YouTube and the people behind the scenes at those places are being such massive burgers that I just had to call them out on their half-cooked nature. And we got some really engaging, really good comments in there, and I just really wanted to say thank you guys. Keep up that discussion. It's so important to talk about some of the censorship and stuff going on with Google right now. And the only way to ensure that it doesn't continue happening, the only way to force a change is to drag it out into the light and talk about it. So keep going. Thanks so much for the support there, and let's just go ahead and get on into today's stuff. Now, I started today's video just kind of thinking a bit about microtransactions in games and like promotions and pay to win, baby, as Thunder would say, pay to win. And before you dive onto it, no, I'm actually not talking about Destiny today, although certainly Bungie and Activision have been going absolutely ham with the promotion for Destiny 2. We've got like Pop-Tart promotions and tie-ins. We've got Rockstar Energy promotions and tie-ins. We've got Virgin Media in the UK promotions and tie-ins, where you can, if you're a customer for any of those services, you can get special stuff like in-game items, EXP boosters, a Sparrow in case of Virgin Media. Shoot. I mean, what's next? The Guardian Rice-A-Roni sponsorship? We gonna get that Rice-A-Roni San Francisco treat Sparrow up in Destiny 2? I mean, well, shoot, now that you mention that, I might actually, I would actually roll down them hills with a Rice-A-Roni Sparrow. But no, today's not about Bungie. Today is about kind of the notion of microtransactions and just how crazy it's gotten in a lot of the games nowadays. Activision is certainly guilty of this, EA, a lot of the big companies out there. But I've been paying attention to this whole Middle-earth Shadows of War and Shadows of Mordor thing going on right now, and it is just kind of mind-blowing how Shadow of War is coming together and some of the changes we're going to be seeing in that. Now, if you played the original Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, that was a fantastic single-player game. It was very heavily focused on narrative and storytelling, and it was a kind of a Batman Arkham spectacle fighter beat-em-up game that was just really fantastic. It's a fantastic game. Seriously, go out, pick it up, play it. And its sequel, Shadow of War, is looking like it's going to be an even better, even crazier experience. But Monolith has come out in the past couple of weeks and made a few announcements that really just haven't rubbed large parts of the gaming community the right way. First off, there was the change to the weapon and armor system to the game. If you played the original Shadows of Mordor, you didn't really have loot drops in that game. You had a set weapon, set armor, and you kind of upgraded it with runes, if you remember from then. Well, that's going to be changing for the sequel Shadow of War. It's going to be a much more loot-based system, where you have tiered loot like weapons, range weapons, short-range weapons like knives and swords and bows, and armor that comes in different rarity tiers, you know, from your basic commons up to epic level loot. It's going to be a lot more like Diablo or any of those looter-based games that have become super duper popular in the past 5 to 6 years. And personally, I think that's cool. I think that's a natural progression for a game like the Middle-earth series. I think that's overall going to be it's going to be a fun change, but you know, my opinion's a little bit biased there. I love looters. I love Diablo. I love The Division. I love Destiny. So when I see something like that, I think, oh, cool. Well, they're going to give you something to grind the game out for. But a lot of people, you know, were like, well, you know, that's not what the original Shadows of Mordor was. And that's definitely a fair criticism. But we got an announcement a few days ago that has really kind of turned the community on its head, and it's the introduction of microtransactions to Middle-earth Shadow of War. And really, if you saw the change to the loot system, that there was going to be loot, you knew this was coming from a mile away. Now, this announcement came from Monolith's community specialist, who posted the official announcement on the Shadow of War forum titled Introducing the Market. And we're just going to read a little bit of what it says. It starts out like this. The innovative Nemesis system created unique personal stories through procedurally generated enemies who remember every encounter and are differentiated by their personality, strengths, and weaknesses. Middle-earth: Shadow of War expands this innovation with the introduction of followers who bring about entirely new stories of loyalty, betrayal, and revenge. The Nemesis system is also expanded to create a unique personal world through Nemesis Fortresses, which allows players to utilize different strategies to conquer dynamic strongholds and create personalized worlds with their unique orc army. Now, an important aspect of the Nemesis system now comes in forging, customizing, and leading your own army of unique orc followers against the fortresses of Mordor. There are different ways to do this, including dominating orcs by exploring the vast open world and encountering them as part of orc society. Or players can acquire orcs and other items through the market, the in-game store, and man, this is where things get set off. Through the market, players can purchase loot chests, war chests, XP boosts, and bundles, which can of course only be accessed with an internet connection. Loot chests will contain gear, which is weapons and armor, of varying rarity. Equipping and upgrading these weapons and armor will enhance Talion's character abilities. Loot chests can also contain XP boosts that help level up Talion faster. War chests provide orc followers of varying rarity to help you forge a strong army. They can also contain training orders to level up and customize orc followers. XP boosts are consumables that will help you level your character faster. And finally, bundles package up loot chests, war chests, and boosts together at a great value, of course. And this is really where some of the head scratching and kind of face palming comes in. With this game, it's going to be very much like the first game. The Nemesis system is going to come back, so enemies that defeat you are basically going to power up and move on through the story, and you'll encounter them later on, which is super cool. But in this game, it's all about building fortresses, conquering enemies, dominating their will, and turning them as part of your army. And now they've announced that in addition to loot drops in this game, we're going to have a microtransaction supply drop system where you're basically going to be able to get loot chests that contains gear of varying rarity. So it could be anything from commons to epics, as well as war chests, which can get you these NPCs, get you these orc followers to stack your bases with. And man, has the internet not taken well to that. Now, to be fair, you're going to be able to purchase this stuff with a variety of in-game currencies. First up is Mirian, which is a type of in-game currency that can be acquired by defeating treasure orc enemies, destroying gear, destroying orc followers, and then destroying their gear, or finding Mirian stashes throughout the game. So it's an in-game loot source that you'll be able to get and buy these packages with, to be perfectly fair. But you will, of course, be able to buy gold, which is going to be something you can get via purchasing it from the PlayStation or Xbox store, or by adding it to your Steam wallet using real money. It's also going to be awarded to you in small amounts at specific gaming milestones, or awarded to you for participating in community challenges. But basically, if you want, you can spend money, get gold, use that gold to buy these loot chests for gear and XP boosts, or these war chests for a chance at getting high level characters to stack your fortresses with. And that's if that's not the perfect, most literal example of pay to win, then pay to win simply doesn't exist in the gaming world right now. And I gotta say, I'm not really liking the way that that's feeling. Again, this is coming from a game that was a narrative-based game to being a loot-based game where you can just spend money, and they're saying you can spend money to skip the grind. This is really to help people who don't want to spend all that time grinding things out. Well, one, that kind of makes me feel a little bit bad. If you're having a loot-based system where there's going to be tons of drops that you can get from enemies, and you're going to be offering drops in loot boxes that you can purchase, well, that kind of tells me you might be knocking down those drop rates for just playing the game normally in order to encourage people to buy these loot cases. And you advertising these loot cases and this microtransaction system by saying, oh, well, it helps you skip that grind, that doesn't give me a lot of confidence. Now, putting all of that aside, I can say Shadow of War, it's a single player game, right? Well, when it comes to single player games, this kind of stuff doesn't bother me so much. It's like, okay, well, you're not really hurting anybody. If you want to spend money to try to get rarer gear, go for it. That's single player. You're not really affecting anybody else's enjoyment. And then the next news story came out. Let me pull it up for you. Middle-earth: Shadow of War has a ranked online mode where you assault other players' fortresses. Now, this is a story coming out of GameSpot, and it basically reveals the fact that Middle-earth Shadow of War is going to have a multiplayer mode where you basically set up fortresses, stock them with NPCs and orcs that you've captured over the course of playing in single player, and then you can put those bases online in a method very similar to Metal Gear Solid 5's forward operating bases. If you did those FOB missions where you can kind of set up a base, take the NPCs that you've Fulton in single player, stack them up with sort of the weapons and armor that you've built up, and then put them online to see if other people can kind of infiltrate your base, maybe kill or capture some of your guys or kill or capture some of your resources, and you can do the same to other people. In Shadow of War, after you defeated all of the orcs controlling a fortress in single player, you can take control and customize it. You'll be able to install commanders and captains from your own orc army, and you'll be able to buy upgrades to make it more difficult to capture. And after you've finished customizing it and you've gotten your base the way you want it, you can put your fortress online. This is going to allow other players to attack your fortress and attempt to kill your followers and capture your base. So it's just kind of a neat little castle building mode where you can just shove NPCs that you've captured in single player in there, gear them up the way you want, put your base online, and see if other people can get through, kill your people, and, beat your base. And you can do the same thing to other people, go to their fortresses, see what they've got hidden away. And what's more, with this multiplayer mode, there's going to be two different variants of it. You've got Friendly Conquest, which will allow the attacker to retain all of their followers after combat. So if you set it to that, people who invade your fortress, if they happen to kill any of your orcs, well, when they're done doing their thing, whether they succeed or fail, your orcs won't really be dead. They'll come back. And then we have got Ranked Conquest, which is a leaderboard based mode where each successful conquest is going to knock you up on the leaderboard. But any and all orcs that are killed when people invade your fortresses, those orcs are gone forever, making it overall a much more harrowing experience. Now, why is this bad? Well, it's rather simple. The gear and orcs that you get from these loot drops, you can stack into these online fortresses, essentially creating a complete pay-to-win environment online. Which, I don't know about you guys, but that's a little bit insane. That means if you want, you can spend a ton of money, buy up some gold, open some loot crates, stack yourself with potentially great weapons and armor, stack yourself with potentially great units, put those in your online bases, and probably have a pretty significant advantage against anyone else who doesn't buy that stuff in a ranked online mode. So, of course, this is no longer you just buying stuff for your single player experience. The stuff that you're buying can be used online against other players, and that's pay to win, and I'm not really okay with that. I mean, that potentially creates a really unfair atmosphere where individuals can pay for an advantage against other players. I mean, under the current system as it's defined here, I just really don't see any way that this isn't going to become, at least the ranked playlist isn't going to become a prestige lure for whales. The people who spend the most amount of money are going to be the ones who basically do the best in this. Or potentially at least do the best. There's no guarantee that they get something good from their drops, but they'll probably get more drops than you will just by playing the game. And really, it isn't a good look, and it's certainly got a lot of people up in arms, and they should be. Now, you can certainly argue, hey, there's a single player mode. If you don't want to go online, you certainly don't have to. And there will definitely be a lot of players who do just that. Again, the single player, well, the only mode in Shadow of Mordor was the story mode, and it was a superb game, an absolutely superb game, and I have no doubts that this game will be just as good, if not better. But for the other players out there who do want to go online, and even for the people who do want to stay in single player, introducing these microtransactions is basically introducing gambling, where you're introducing the opportunity for players to either grind things out and take a while to get their gear, or just pay money to possibly get a chance at getting gear. And then that gear can be used in an online competitive environment to give people an edge in a leaderboard based mode, a ranked mode, and that's just not cool. And I mean, again, I love looters, but when you put in a system like this, a supply drop-esque system, it's incentive for the devs to kind of knock down that actual in-game drop rate of items to incentivize people to make that choice, grind or pay. And then for the people that pay, you're probably going to have a bit of an advantage against everyone else who doesn't. But maybe that's just me, and maybe people are going to be perfectly okay with Middle-earth Shadow of War having this type of microtransaction system. Something tells me that's not going to be the case though. But alright guys, it's going to be it for this one. What do you guys think about this? How do you feel about microtransactions, their place in gaming today, and how it's going to affect this sequel to a truly fantastic game? Do you think it's pay to win, or are you just happy to have an option to skip the grind? Because believe me, don't be ashamed of it. That is a legitimate choice out there. A lot of people either don't have the time or don't want to grind for this kind of stuff. So however you feel, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. But alright, it's going to be it for this one guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, well, feel free to drop a like and maybe even subscribe if you'd like to see some more content from me. And if you want to be on that notification list, the bell is right there. It'll give you an indication of right when my videos go live. Either way, thanks so much for watching. As always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.